Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we are joined by Tommy Kilpatrick. He brings a fascinating perspective on credit card debt and financial systems. We'll hear about Tommy's insights on the nature of credit card debt, how it really works, and what it means for individuals trying to manage their finances. And please note, Tommy's views are his own. We encourage our audience to listen, reflect, and draw their own conclusions. So let's get started and learn more. Welcome to the show, Tommy.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. So, Tommy, before we begin, we'll be talking about, as I said, we'll talk about credit cards rules, learn about financial insights. But before that, let's understand a bit about you, your background, your journey, so that people know who they are listening to.
Sure. What started is I'm an author, and I wrote a book on health and healing, and it was so successful that about the year, I think about 2000 is when an infomercial company contacted me, and they wanted to do me on an infomercial. So they test marketed me on different radio stations, and so I needed to use my 3 credit cards to live on for that about 6 months. And then what happened is that one of the other talents, another author, he had wrote lies about weight loss in his book, and the U.S. FTC came down on him and on the company, and all the new talent, all the new authors were basically ended our contracts. And so I was stuck with $85,000 of credit card debt. And that kind of put me in a little tailspin. But then one morning I woke up, and my dad had been a CPA, a certified public accountant, and I was studying to be accountant in college. And it dawned on me that the banks do not really issue a credit card because they don't really provide goods and services. And if you ask for an invoice, they're not able to provide one. And then in our classes of accounting, they teach us about banking. And it says right in the manual called Modern Money Mechanics on page 6, it says what banks do is they accept a promissory note, and then they write numbers basically in your free checking account. So I never signed a promissory note, so I knew there was no loan. And then there's a thing about that you have to, if you use the card, you are obligated to their terms and conditions. And here in the United States, and it works everywhere in the world, but in the United States, the Supreme Court ruled over and over again that fraud undoes all contracts. So what I did is I filed 3 federal lawsuits in Los Angeles. And you could ask me, did I win? Well, would that be like a jury trial and the judge in my favor? No. The judge threw the cases out. Okay, so you lost. Well, $85,000 of credit card debt was not on my credit report, and I never had a derogatory item, and I never got what they call a 1099-C. What happens is if you borrow money from the bank and you don't pay them back, that's like income. And what the bank does, they notify the IRS that you got this $100,000, let's say, and they get to do a tax deduction. I never got a 1099 because there never was a loan. So that's how I discovered that it can actually work. And so now I wrote a book, and being able to help people when I came across the fact that $1.3 trillion of credit card debt, that's just the United States. So I know it's in every country, and this will work in every single state, in every single country of the world. So that's briefly about my background.
Absolutely, Tommy. So before we come to your book also, I want to understand what is it that you are trying to do. Are you trying to tell the world that use credit cards, but you have the option not to pay back? How should one understand all the information that you are spreading?
That's correct. So first of all, if you say there's a debt, and law is all about language, and if you say you have a debt, you have a debt. But when we watch the news about a bank robber, the news always says alleged. So if you start with the word alleged, then that makes the other side have to prove that there's a debt. So if you have alleged credit card debt, well, there's some legitimate and there's some illegitimate. If you go into a store, a merchant, or somebody who provides a service, and you take that and they say, hey, do you want an in-store credit card? Sure, you apply and you get approved. Great. You walk out with a product. You didn't have to pay for it. You get a statement at the end of the month and you got to pay it. That's a legitimate debt. You owe the money. But all you have to do is look on the back of the credit card. And if the back of the credit card says Bank of America, Citibank, Deutsche Bank, you pick the name of the bank, anything under. If it's on the back of that credit card, that is a bank issued credit card. So if you were to contend that this was not a debt, then the store or the merchant would be able to produce an invoice. You took their product, you didn't pay for it, you owe the money. But on a bank issued alleged credit card, well, that's where they have to prove that they have an invoice and they never did the service. And so that's one thing of differentiating ourselves from a true credit card that you owe the money on and the bank issued ones, which you don't owe the money.
Right. So banks know this. Banks also know that the world knows this. That smart people know this. People who know the system know this. The legal system knows this. The lawyers know this. Everyone knows this. Then why are they into this banking, this particular system of business, which everyone knows about, but few practice to nuke it? Help us understand from that. It's like everyone is becoming a fool by using this whole system. How do you explain all this, Tommy?
Sure. Really simple. Whenever you deal with a bank, it's always about loans. When you make a deposit, you're actually loaning the bank money. They cannot loan that out to somebody else. It's considered a liability on their accounting sheets. But then they loan money to you. So the only relationship you have with the bank is either you loan them money by making a deposit, or they loan you money and then you use it. So what the banks do is they need to have new customers. And so they advertise. Years ago, they used to give you a toaster. I remember that as a kid. You'd go in and get a savings account, and mom got a toaster. So she wanted a new toaster, I'd get a savings account. And then one time, several years ago, I went to a bank and they said, if you deposit $25 in our savings account, we will match that in 90 days. So I waited 3 months, 90 days. On day 91, there was $50 in my account. I closed the account and took the money. Now, let me ask you a question. Was I stealing from the bank? No. Did I cheat the bank? No. They wanted me as a customer. They made a deal and I fulfilled their deal. I just walked out with $25. This is the same thing with your alleged credit card. Okay. They gave you, that's the important thing, is they gave you without any obligation a credit card, but actually it's a gift card. You went and used your gift card like you should. If you got a gift, like I got a gift from the bank, I went and spent the money. You can do that. But then what you get is the end of the month is a statement. Well, you get a statement on your checking account. That's not a bill. But for some reason, this free checking account that happens to have a debit card, credit card, or a gift card associated to it, now all of a sudden you owe money. So at the end of the month, you got a bill from your credit card. You thought it was a debt. You wrote a check out and you mailed it to the bank. That is the first time that the bank could ever count your money. It's all about accounting. So they counted your money. They put it into that free checking account with that associated with the gift card. You funded your own checking account. From that point forward, you have been using your own money. It's the funniest thing. You get a statement at the end of the month. They think you owe money, so you mail more money in. That money is used for your purchases the following month. So you have self-funded your own free checking account, but you were tricked into it, and that's where the fraud is. So here's the bottom line. In America, on average, a person pays $23.04 on their free checking account associated with their credit card. But you're charging $23 for people using their own free checking account. So all you have to do, and this is what the purpose is for me to be here, is to tell you and your listeners, all you got to do is write a letter to the bank, because so much is now done online, but write a letter to the bank and make sure that you have some kind of proof that you mailed it. and let them know that you want to close your free checking account associated with that bank issued alleged credit card. And sure enough, it should have nothing to happen to you. Now, on the other side, if you've got 20, 30, 50, 100,000, $500,000 of bank issued alleged credit card debt, then what I suggest is you file a lawsuit. You can do this in India, you can do it in any country, and all you're doing is letting the bank know that you know the story, you know their lies, you know their deception. So what you do is you file for an injunction. And what you're doing, you're saying to the court, this bank says I owe them money. Okay, they have to produce proof. They got to, one, produce an invoice that proves there's a debt. Two, they got to produce a promissory note. And since they don't have a promissory note and they don't have an invoice, there's no debt. And since they can't produce that, they're now in contempt of court. So it's pretty much a slam dunk. You will be successful. So I'm looking for a company that has like a CPA or a certified public accountant or somebody in that field, and there's their CFO, and they usually have an attorney as a vice president. This is perfect. So within about 45 days, if they owe 500, $1 million worth of this bank issued alleged credit card debt, it can be wiped off in about 45 days.
Absolutely. So what should people do? Should they get into the lure of, not paying back that so-called alleged debt, or should they be good citizens and let it continue? Because banks will take their money. They are very powerful. They've got great attorneys. They've got lots of people within the system, within the government, within the legal system. An individual is an individual. He will have to fight the whole system for, say, a few $1,000s. What is it then they should fight for?
Yes, I actually had a charity, and our charity was focused on helping people with their alleged credit card debt. And so for about 1,000 clients I had over a 5 or 6 year period, I was able just to write a letter, and the bank saw that I knew what was going on. They never bothered the client. But then after a couple of years, I started making a big impact on the bank's bottom line. They started to push back. So I had hired attorneys, and every single one of them who would stab me in the back, they would listen to what I had to say. They'd believe me. They gave me the song and dance. They took my money. But then when we went to court, they're going, I can't go in front of this judge. I've got other clients. I can't appear to be some crackpot attorney. This is crazy. So they would screw me over at the very end. So that's where the injunction is so important. And you can do this yourself, because I represented myself in federal court. So my papers are all done. I have the whole complaint filled out, all the discovery, and you're actually asking for a deposition. So once the bank answers the complaint, in 10 days, you could be doing a deposition. They definitely don't want this out. So they're going to negotiate. Once they see that you're going to file an injunction, that they're going to be in contempt of court, they're going to go nowhere. So it's far better for them to settle. And what we want settlement-wise is remove the alleged debt off of your credit report, no derogatory items, and no 1099-C, which would only be here in the United States. But then that's where you can eliminate it by just simply a letter if you don't owe very much, or if you have a lot, then you need to do a lawsuit. But I have a free website. You can go to that. I got a free book for you. And if you sign up for a 15-minute free consultation, I will give you my $69 book on Forgive and Forget, How to Nuke Your Credit Card Debt. And right in there, it tells you how to do it.
Right, Tommy. So what is the difference between credit card debt and other loans that you take from a bank? Are they also in the same category, or they are actual debt?
Yes, that's the thing, is that when you apply for a loan and they reject you, you don't get the loan. But when you apply for a loan and you do receive approval, then what you do is you fill out loan documents. You need to be able to prove you have income. How are you going to pay the debt back? Do you have a job? Do you have something coming in every month? Do you have savings? On the other ones, you have to have collateral. Do you have a house to put up in case you don't pay? They take the house away from you. And then you also have to have a credit report. And then you have a credit score that determines your interest rate. But the last thing you have to do is sign a promissory note. Before they give you a penny, you have to sign a promissory note. And that's where they get you on the house, like a mortgage, or on a car, you sign the promissory note. So when this does not work for those kinds of debts, because you signed the promissory note.
Okay. So any unsecured loan is not a debt in a real sense, if I understand, because you have not signed anything.
That would be correct, because in the Federal Reserve Bank issued this manual in 1961. I read that in 1975 when I was in my accounting class. And it says right there on page 6, what they do is you have to sign a promissory note first. And by fiat, by just out of the air, they write numbers into your free checking account. And that's how you get access. And they're the biggest causers of inflation, because once you understand, there's a balance between the amount of goods and services and the current currency floating. When these banks do this, they create money that's fiat, and that's where the interest rates and the inflation rate has just gone straight up since about 1930, when the Federal Reserve finally took control of the banks. Because it was that banking holiday they enforced. They shut they drove the interest rates up so high in the 30s. They caused the national banking crisis, and that's where they closed a lot of banks on purpose, because they were not part of the Federal Reserve. Once they threw their weight in, and now they're dominating the entire banking world with their Federal Reserve. Now the inflation rate just took off, because now they could inflate the money without having any consequences.
Right. So, Tommy, why is it that all the central banks, all of different countries, why do their banking system, banking regulators, central banks, governments, why do they continue to allow this sort of a thing? It's not about just the gifting of money, but it's also about, inflation. It's going counter to what the governments are trying to achieve in their own countries.
Mm-hmm. And it's really simple. These banks are for the arm of the ruling class. And what you do inflation-wise is you borrow money now, and then you pay it back 10 years from now in cheaper dollars. So when my wife was a nurse, and she got a loan for her nursing, and she was paying $100 a month for her student loan. When she was started as a nurse, she was even paid $15 an hour. So it took her about 8 hours to work, 7 hours to work to pay the $100. But then 10 years later, she's at $25 an hour. It only took her 4 hours of work to pay back the loan. So inflation works really well if you can borrow the money now and pay it back later, because you are in an advantage. That's all it's about, is the bankers are in control. I call them banksters, but yes.
Banksters.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I want to understand then is that all this system banks that have created, it's creating a huge in their own number of people who understand banking system, who will take a good amount of number of credit cards, spend all that money, take out money if they want to, and that simply tell them, I will not pay you back. It's not the common man, but only the common person gets those harassing calls, not these guys who can just write a letter, and that loan, so-called loan, is written off.
It actually works. And I actually came across a couple of days ago, there's a guy on YouTube and says, hey, the banks will give you money. And what he's promoting is just what I said. Banks will say, deposit this amount of money, wait a certain amount of days, and then draw it out. And he is saying he's making $300. Now, he doesn't say per month, per week, or per year, but he was promoting that by doing this, he was making money, free money. And that's what I said I did. It's the same thing with the credit card are doing. So yes, you can fly all you want. I met one guy who had 750,000, and he called it credit card debt. So he, by saying debt, you owe the money, and there's nothing I could do for him. But he got 30 cards at 25,000 each, and that's how he ran up 750,000. So he just eventually did a bankruptcy, but he thought that was the easiest way out. But he didn't. He didn't listen to me and didn't want to do it his way. So that's fine. I had to let him go. But I can usually find people money that they didn't even know they had. So for a business that has, $500,000 of alleged credit card debt, I might be able to find them 100,000 before they close the account. And they have their CPA as the expert witness, and they have their attorney to file a lawsuit. So this is the best way to go. Because if you go to an attorney that's out there, like you said, they're all part of the system. They all make money. They're all into the lie. All the judges are into the lie. So when you read my book, you're going to hear this judge berating the defense attorney, and that's what happened to me. That judge questioned me, but Your Honor, I got to start at the beginning. Oh, we'll get to that. Did you get a credit card? Well, no, it was a gift card. A gift card? Are you some idiot? So I could never explain from the basis of my argument. And that's the problem. You can't use an attorney that has other clients. You got to have someone who's maybe not practicing or doesn't that is still a legal attorney, but doesn't have clients. That's who could screw you over. Or you hire them specifically just for you, and you have their sole attention.
Absolutely, absolutely. But for a person who, a common person, it's a lot of moral dilemma whether to pay back or willingly not pay back, especially if the amount is a bit on the higher side.
You have to pay back a true credit card, and that is issued by a merchant or someone providing you a service. You are ripping them off. You cannot do that. You took their product, you took their service, they extended credit to you, they thought you'd pay it back. You have to pay it back. Go get a second job. Work with them, talk to them about how you can pay this debt off slowly by payments and maybe suspend the interest rate just to make this payment go away. You owe that money. But look at the back of the credit card. If it says a bank, then you have been scammed. You have been deceived into using your own money. So they tempted you with advertisement to get you as a customer, but that's the same story with me and the same guy on YouTube. And I'll send that link to you so you can share that with your audience. That's right there. He says, just apply and get, meaning not apply, be going to a bank and make your deposit, and they'll match your deposit for a certain number of days. And then all you got to do is close the account and take the money. You're ahead of the game.
Absolutely, Tommy. Absolutely. One last question before I come to the book of yours is, and I forgot it, but let me think about it if I can. Yes, I remembered it. You talk about merchant credit cards. What's the difference between a merchant? If you can give some examples here, how do I know it's a merchant credit card and not a bank? Because there are so many tie-ups between airlines and credit card companies and different banks.
Yeah.
And every entity has a tie-up with a bank and some credit. So what is a merchant credit card here?
Yeah, it's a very good question. For example, if I went into a tire store and I needed tires on my car, but I don't have any money, why are you going to a tire store? My tires are bald. If I drive another mile, I could die. So I go into a tire store and see what we can do. And they say, oh, we actually have a store issued credit card. All you gotta do is apply. And you apply, and guess what? You approved. Oh, great. Now the tire store gets to put tires on your car, charge you for the service, but they don't get paid today. They get paid later. You are thrilled because you're getting a bonus check or some kind of a refund or something that's coming your way that you know you can be able to pay for it. Or maybe someone else has got a job and their paycheck is going to be in 2 to 3 weeks from now. So you know you're going to get paid, and then you can pay them back. So that is a true merchant or a store issued credit card. Now, all you have to do is look on the back of Amazon, Walmart, any department store that you can think of, any store that's in India or anywhere around the world, and just look at the back. And if it says a bank, issued by a bank, then that is a fraudulent credit card because they'll never have an invoice. When you ask them for an invoice, they don't have one. And that merchant was paid by your own money. So the very first use of it is called a gift card. They gifted it to you to get you to be a customer. So you used it like you should, but then you thought it was a bill. So you funded money. So you actually funded your own checking account. And every purchase after that has been with your own money. So it's your money in the account, not the bank's money, because when you put money to the bank, it's a loan. You are loaning money to the bank. You have access to it, not by checks, but by your debit card. And it's disguised with the words credit card on it. So when you first get it, it's called a gift card. When you send money to the bank for the first time, it gets turned into a debit card. So once you start saying credit card and you stay in debt, you're sunk, you lose, court case over. So that's
Absolutely.
what
And
you can do.
so if suppose Amazon or Walmart, they have a branded card with some bank. Is that a merchant
Mhm.
card or is that a bank credit card?
Well, just think it through. You get this card in the mail. It was gifted to you. You go and it says Walmart on it. You go to Walmart and you buy something and you walk out with a receipt, right? At the door, they might say, wait a second, did you actually buy that? Well, here's my receipt. Okay, let you go through. You've actually proved that you have paid Walmart. So, in a situation of a legal thing, all you do is ask for an invoice. Where's the invoice? And the bank is not going to have one because they never did the service. They never sold you goods and services. They're a bank, and banks only do things about loans. Either you loan them money when you make a deposit, or they loan you money. So that's the
Okay.
difference.
Okay. And to Walmart, you can say that, listen, I already paid you because you gave me the invoice and I have already paid you. But the bank cannot
Right.
show you an invoice because it's an invoice from Walmart or Amazon, whoever it is. And for them, you have paid it because you have showed them the bill.
And you have evidence because you deposited your money into that account and the next day you used it. So you kind of think it through. Your money went to the bank. Okay, that filled up your checking account and you're just using it every month. Because when you get a checking account statement, it's not a bill, but you think a credit card is a bill, well, then pay it. You know, I have a credit card and I use it, but it's to get my credit score up. So I know how to use it. But here's the funny thing. After I sued Capital One for about $30,000, a few years later, I applied for a credit card. They gave me one. They gave me a $500 credit card, and I had no score. I had been off grid. I had been on a farm. I didn't interact anything commercially, so I had a clean credit report, but there was no record. I had nothing on it. And so I had no score. Yet because I was a customer in the past, they didn't know I sued them. So it's a funny thing. So yeah, I got a $500 credit card from somebody I sued in federal court.
Absolutely. Big world out there, lots of systems working at the same time. And it is for a common person, they can only try and get educated about everything and see what works best for each of them as per their situation, as per on their own moral way of looking at it, things, or how they want to, deal with their own ethical, moral dilemmas. Be that as it may, tell us a bit about your book, Tommy. Who is your book for? Is it for the credit card companies or is it for the common man?
Well, it's written for very simple for what happened to me. And I make it really simple. There's an introduction, there's about the author. You learn about me wanting to be a certified public accountant and my whole history and stuff. And it gets into a court case, and it's a lot of fun. It's very funny. Even the names, if you look up your Latin words, they're all jokes. So this is kind of like a skit, and a skit is to be comedic or poetic and stuff like that. So you're going to go through these 20, 30 pages of a court scene, and it's really funny. So and you'll get it by the end of the book. You'll get it. But what you want to do is send this podcast to your CPA, your financial advisor, your accountant, the person who prepares your taxes, and have them read through just that one chapter. It called Act One, Scene One. It's from the skit, and have them read through that, and they're going to tell you, I am 100% accurate. The bank never can produce an invoice because they never did goods or services to you. Two, they cannot produce a promissory note. So, and then you go, well, I use the card. Yeah, but you are not, courts do not enforce criminality. If a criminal dupes you into a contract and takes you to court, the court cannot acknowledge a crime against you. You're an innocent person. So anybody who does fraud on you, it undoes all contracts. So you don't have a contract at all with the bank. They're on average getting $23.04. And you times that by, let's say, 1 million credit cards, they're bringing in $23 million, charging that to people who have a free checking account. So it's the bank are the criminals. They're the banksters.
Absolutely. There's so much to learn about all these things from you, Tommy. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to understand more about these things and would want to connect with you, take your help if needed. What's the best way for them to connect with you, Tommy?
In the show notes, I'll send you a little link, and it's all they do is go there, and they're going to get a free book. And if they sign up for a 15-minute free consultation with yours truly, I have nothing to push, I have nothing to sell you, and we'll talk. And then you get my free $69 book. I think it's 6,000 rupees if I saw my ad on the India Amazon. So yeah, you get the book for free because I want you to be able to do this. I'm looking for a company who's got a lot of debt, but they have a CPA as their expert witness. They've got the attorney on staff. That would be the greatest thing. And that's why I want to file a lawsuit, because it stops the whole thing. In about 45 days, that company is not going to be bankrupt. Their $500,000 of credit card debt is gone. So this will really help out anybody out there that works in any country. That banks still do the same thing. And I'm just here to help you.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.